and welcome back to Divine Decode, the space where we slow down, tune in, and remember who we really are beneath all the doing. I'm your host, Pragya Malviya, and I am so grateful you're here today. Today's episode is truly special. I am joined by the absolutely radiant Samantha Jones Darling, a spiritual teacher, shamanic healer, and author of the incredible book, I Am Ready, Let That Ish Go. In this episode, we are going to talk about what it really means to let go, not just as a phrase we throw around, but as a path to freedom, healing, and self love. First of all, congratulations on the book, Samantha. What a beautiful offering it is. It's so rare to find work that feels both deeply grounded and spiritually expansive at the very same time. You have really created something so powerful.
Well, thank you so much. It's an honor to be here, and I feel honored to have been chosen to write this book.
That's so great. Samantha, letting go is one of those things that we hear so often nowadays. It's everywhere from Instagram captions to self-help books, right? But when you say it really feels different. It feels deeper. So I'd love to start here in your own words. What does letting go actually mean? Not just mentally, but emotionally and spiritually.
Well, it means becoming everything that you are, actually. And what I talk about in this book is a couple of different avenues and perspectives on letting go because, there's, of course, the moment when we feel grief or loss or disappointment, right? And that's mostly what comes to mind when we think of letting go. But it's also about letting go of misalignments. It's letting go of relationships that are just okay. It's about digging deep and letting go of everything that does not work for you so you can then have this space to create or invite in the truly aligned life that you want to live.
That's really nice to start with, and that's just a really great explanation to it. Also, we often, tend not to, really differentiate between letting go or, avoiding the pain or pushing it away too quickly. So, just to go a bit deep, how do we know when we are genuinely like letting go versus when we are kind of avoiding the pain or pushing it away too quickly?
That is a great question because that happens to many of us, including those of us who write the books, right? It happens to all of us all the time. And when you are avoiding your feelings, you will notice that you are behaving in certain ways that are not typical. You might be sleeping less. You might be eating more. You might be feeling more exhausted. You might be more irritable. You might be struggling with brain fog or digestive issues. And so the body will tell you when it's time to let go of something. It is only it is only our job to stand by and open up the channels to let it happen. And that's why I wrote this book, because most of us don't know how to open up the channel to let go. We don't know in that moment to just sit there with the feeling for a moment and let it speak wisdom to us. And then we also don't know how to process it physically or spiritually or emotionally through and out of our bodies. And so this book does address the physical aspect, the spiritual aspect, and the emotional aspect. It brings in shamanic healing techniques, and all that means is we use nature. We use fire, water, air, grounding, to get to the space where we feel safe and we feel grounded, because that is actually the first step of letting go, is getting safe into your body and sitting there for just a moment in that stillness. And then the next step from that, that's where the book takes you is to what exactly do you do? How exactly do you get the fear, the pain, the loss, the disappointment, the anxiety, the resentments? How do we get those out of our minds and out of our hearts and out of our bodies? And that's what this book addresses.
That is really honest, and I really love that you said letting go. It isn't really just about, pretending that we're over something. We usually just pretend that we're over, and we just put an act of letting go. That is a clear line that you've really marked for us. Thank you for that. Also, your book, it is called I Am Ready, which, by the way, is such a powerful declaration in itself. I love how you talk about readiness not as some magical external sign, but as something that we choose. For someone who is maybe still stuck in an old chapter or still clinging to pain, what does that choice to be ready actually look like?
Well, sometimes our body is ready and our heart is ready, but maybe our ego is not ready. And in that moment, that's when we decide as, that's when we step into self-parenting and self-guidance and self-inspiration. And there's a fine line we walk there between allowing ourselves to feel our feelings and not be shamed out of them and not be rushed through them. So we need to sit with them for a moment. But when we feel and when we know and when our body is telling us it's the next step, that's when we actually have to sometimes dig a little deeper and just gently push ourselves forward into trying a new technique that maybe you don't want to do, or going outside and sitting in the sunshine when you'd rather be inside under the covers, and eating healthy when you'd rather not, and going to bed at the right time when you don't, when you'd rather just stay up all night. So we have to do a little bit of that self-love and self-parenting of walking that fine line between gentle allowing and then gentle pushing forward into the next step. And it does require a little of nuance. And sometimes we can rush ourselves and sometimes we can allow ourselves to wallow a little bit longer. Neither one is a bad thing. We must give ourselves grace in that moment. And that's when we can come back to the book again of letting go of what we are supposed to do and getting in tune with what do I need to do right now? What do I want to do right now? What is the best medicine that I can give myself right now?
That gives me chill, and I really agree with what you said that, our soul, it just gives us those little nudges and the signs that whenever, we just want to go on a shift. And that's really great that you shared that with us. Also, Samantha, your personal path, it has taken you through travel, solitude, deep healing work, and shamanic traditions. It is so inspiring to hear someone walk their talk. Was there a particular moment or lesson that completely changed the way you saw healing or yourself?
Well, actually, there was a lot of those moments. So let me decide which one I can share today. um, you know, I think I'll go back to the very first one. The first time that I had acupuncture, I was actually traveling. I was in Indonesia and had never tried it before and was scared of it just by the visuals. But I was filled with the past that I needed to let go of, and this is the beginning of where this book came from. And I was filled with energies of my dark childhood, of my marriage that wasn't healthy, of my own life that wasn't healthy, of so many things. And it takes a few different ways to cleanse your body and soul and heart of the things that you need to let go of. And so, from the physical aspect of it, this is where I first experienced what that looked and felt like. And I went to the acupuncturist and explained to him, what I was feeling and what was going on. And they're the experts, and he put the needles where they are and left me. And while I was laying there on the table, I felt a massive ball of energy come out of my liver area and just kind of balloon up out of me and float away. And I knew just instinctively that that energy was tied to a person that I had been trying to cleanse out of my memories and out of my life. And so it was very profound and very distinct. And I remember saying, "Oh, goodbye" to that person and watching it go and feeling the lightness. And after the treatment was done, being able to walk taller and walk more confident and feel more like myself for the first time. And that was my first taste of truly letting go from a physical standpoint. And I have to tell you, it definitely created an obsession with it because the more I let go, the more I'm ready to let go. And the lighter I get, and the more authentic I can hear my own voice rather than being bombarded with the voices of the world and the voices of the media.
That is really beautiful. As you were, speaking about it, it really felt so, beautiful in itself that, yes, it really worked. And so glad it did. For someone who is listening right now, who maybe, doesn't have access to retreats or teachers, how can they start where they are? What does healing look like when it's happening at home in the middle of real life? How does it happen?
It happens by going slower. Slow down. That's the number one thing you can do is slow down and get grounded into your body. Ground and actually everything that I teach in this book, all the techniques are free, right? And nothing that I'm teaching is anything that people don't already know. I just put it together in a way that makes it easy to understand and easy to use and easy to repeat. But all the information that anybody needs is out there. Start with getting grounded. You need to feel safe. You need to feel confident. You need to know who you are and what you need first and foremost. And then after that, you start with releasing your feelings through journaling, through talking, through creative expression, through making videos, through making movies, through writing stories, anything at all to take the darkness or the pain or the resentment and turn it into something beautiful. Turn your resentments into a story of what you wish could have happened. Turn your disappointments into the fuel to make your life what you want it to be. We all need to start with looking within, and that's the first thing that we do is get grounded, look at your pain and see what you can do with it, see how you can let it go out of your body. And to be honest, the more you listen to your own body and your own mind and your own heart and your own ideas, the less you need any of us. And that's the whole point.
That is such a grounding reminder that you gave out. Thank you for sharing that. Um, I think one of the most relatable feelings is that the tightness that shows up when we are asked to let go, right? It feels like we question, right? But if I let go, what will be left of me, or who will I be without this pain, this story, this person? How do you help people move through that fear, that resistance to releasing control or identity that they feel?
You know what? I have had clients come to me in that state, and I don't do anything. I don't push them. I don't try to convince them. I don't do anything except say, when you're ready, here's what you can do. Because you're not ready until you're ready. And that's why I named this book, I Am Ready. Because when you're ready, you know. When it's time, you don't need to be convinced. And that's exactly the moment. So if you feel that you need to be ready sooner, let that go, right? Start by letting go of what you're supposed to do and what you think you're supposed to do, right? Just listen to your body. And the more you drop into that, the more you will feel ready for every step in your life.
That's right. Also something that I've been wondering, is it possible to let go and reclaim yourself at the same time? Or do we have to do one before the other? Can't they just go in parallelly, together with each other?
Yeah, well, actually, letting go is reclaiming yourself So, yes, you could do them at the exact same time, because whenever you're letting go of something that either you don't need anymore or wasn't what you didn't need to begin with, right? Wasn't meant for you. And so when you let that go, that in that moment is you reclaiming yourself. That is you reclaiming your sovereignty. That is you reclaiming your space. That is you reclaiming your voice. That is you reclaiming your purpose, right? And your purpose is to be yourself as much as you can. So the more that you let go of what isn't working for you, of what is holding you back, you got to put down the rocks so the wind of change can propel you forward.
That's really great, and I really feel that that's too good. Also, something that you say often that really touched me is that you fight for the inner child in every soul. That's so tender in itself and so fierce at the same time. How does healing the inner child, how does it support us in letting go?
Well, excuse me. Healing the inner child supports us through letting go. Because when we let go of, let's say, bad parenting, when we let go of, the ideas that don't necessarily work for us, that's when we make room for our inner child to thrive. And when we are allowing our inner child to thrive, that looks like being a good parent to ourselves. It looks like being structured with our times and our routines and our energies and our nourishment, but it also looks like going slow and giving ourselves time to rest and time to play and time to create, and not just scheduling it, but encouraging it and living lives of playfulness and joy and curiosity. When we drop into the childlike in mentality and the childlike experience, that's when we are doing the most letting go, and that's when we are living the most authentically, and that's when we are living our most beautiful lives.
Right, right. Also, uh, I'm sure a lot of people here, they're trying to reconnect with that younger part of themselves. So, could you please just share that one simple, gentle practice that our listeners could try? Just something that they can do today to start reconnecting with that younger part of themselves.
Mm. Think back to when you were a child. What did you like to do? What did you love to do when you woke up and you had the whole day to yourself? What did you do that you lost all track of time? Think about what you wanted to do that you didn't get to do. Think about the dreams that you had when you were a child and follow them and create them and reimagine them and repurpose them and bring them back into reality. That's where you can start.
That gave me such a soft ache in the heart. The idea that we can, reparent ourselves, that we can offer us the care we never received. That's so, so powerful. Thank you for sharing that with us. Also, Samantha, thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here today. Your presence, it is such a gift, and your words, they remind us that letting go does not just mean losing something. It really means finally making space for what's real, what's next, what's true. Also, to everyone listening, if you have been holding on to pain, to perfection, to patterns that no longer serve you, let this be a gentle invitation, right? Letting go is not the end, it's the beginning. Because when we finally release, we don't fall, we rise. And that is what Samantha taught us today. And your healing, it does not begin someday. It begins the moment you say, with softness and certainty, I am ready. Until next time, this is your host Pragya Malvia signing off with love, light, and the deepest belief in your becoming. Take care, and I'll meet you in the next episode.